Well, welcome back, everybody. Welcome, Johnny. Welcome, Sakina. And it's Elite Business Live. It's our second day here on what really couldn't be a more important topic. A special warm welcome to you in our studio here by St Paul's Cathedral. And if you're just tuning in or catching up, then welcome to you too. We've had a brilliant sort of warm-up, if you like, with Chris Kemp, founder or co-founder of Cheeky Panda. So thank you for setting the scene for us. And I'm joined by three fantastic guests. Sakina Boy is the chair of the Somerset Toiletry Company, which we'll hear all about in a minute. We've sort of got the sort of household name brands as well, which is brilliant. So thank you, Sakina, for being here. Johnny Paterson is the co-founder of Dr. PAWPAW. So again, there he goes with one of his very good lip balms in the hand. Sabrina, are you feeling? Have you brought some products for us? Because
I feel embarrassed that I didn't.
Don't feel embarrassed.
We'll give you a moment to go and grab some afterwards. But I want to hear you in your own words about your companies in a minute.
Yes.
I'll go through titles. And joining us down the line, as it were, is Paul Hargreaves, who again is a welcome back to you to Elite Business Live. Paul, who runs at least one organisation, one of them being Flourish and the other being Cotswold Fair. Now, Paul, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you fine. And apologies for not being there live, but I've been speaking at another conference in Birmingham this morning, so hope you can put up with me being remote.
Well, you're very welcome. Now, we're going to get into our discussion today, but given we've got four of the real deal entrepreneurs here, I want to remind ourselves how you now describe, not the original vision necessarily, but how you describe your businesses today. Sakina.
Well, we are a bath and body company. We have been selling products for 26 years. And in terms of sustainability, we're continuing our journey of sustainability, wanting to make sure we always do the right thing. And it's incumbent on all of us as business owners, I think, to be incredibly moral about what we do and ensure, as a business owner, that not only are you looking after your employees, you're ensuring that you're doing things for your community, but the wider world and the environment. And that's important for us all that we do that.
And where in the world, Sakina, will we find your products? Because the business has gone far and wide.
So we are across the UK and we're in about 55 countries.
Yeah, amazing. Well, kudos to you on that incredible growth. Paul, let's go across to you. I mean, at least two hats and another trophy cabinet to rival Chris Kemp's here. Remind us of what the businesses look like today.
So, yes, the wholesale business supplies about 2,000 retailers across the UK with specialty food. That started in 1999, and we were one of the first B Corps in the UK. I'm sure we'll come to that in a minute, in 2015. And then more recently, in 2021, we started a retail business called Flourish, which is a customer of Somerset Toiletry, actually, and our wholesale business is a customer of Cheeky Panda. So I'd probably need to talk to Dr. PAWPAW at some point to complete the set.
Hello. And just remind us, put it in a nutshell for Flourish. How do you describe that? Just break it down.
People would call it a farm shop. They are two shops on farms, but it's not a working farm, so we call it a food hall and kitchen. So it's 120 cover restaurant, 2,500, 3,000 square foot food halls, and we get probably 1,000 people through there a day.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanght you, Paul. Johnny, a snapshot of Dr. PAWPAW today.
Yes. So I don't know how many of you have heard of Dr. PAWPAW, but we are a high street lip care and multitasking beauty brand. I think what's different about us compared to just the lip care market, we were the first to really come out and be natural and vegan. We were the first to do packaging that was 100% cardboard, where other brands have plastic on plastic. We managed to get that listing in Holland and Barrett, which was our initial jump. But more crucially, we took this lip care into all the big retailers that were always using plastic on plastic lip care brands. So we showed that you could be natural, vegan, doing the right thing and still be cool.
Yeah. So let's put a question to all of you, because There's a sense, isn't there, that the concerned guest or viewer thinks there's a path to be trod here, a greener path. How much will it cost?
Yeah.
How will it resonate with our customers, for example? If it's going to be harder, let me know, and let me know what I'm in for. So we want to hear a bit about your journey. So let's put it, I want your pithy answers first. Paul, we'll come to you on this. Can your business really grow while going green? And this is the 20-second version.
Wow.
Yes. Well, yes is the very short answer. I think initially for me, I wanted a business that was good because it was the right thing to do. But certainly in the last 10 years, it's clear, very, very clear, that it's not just a good thing to do, but actually it's a better business and a more profitable business, and one that the revenues grow faster in. So a very big yes from me.
Right, so that's at least 2 thumbs up there, and we'll pull on some of those threads. Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. If you got purpose and product that match your goals, then you will grow faster and people will like your brand better.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to that customer connection shortly. Sakina?
I totally agree. Sustainability is an incredibly important part of the business. Customers appreciate it, and sharing your journey with customers is incredibly important. I don't think you should be doing business unless you do it in the right way.
Right, okay, so doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Johnny?
Very quickly, our business changed when we went from the plastic encapsulated lip care products to putting them in cardboard boxes. It changed our business, both UK and globally. But I think now the Gen Z customer who's talking to Gen Alpha, this is what their demands are. So if you don't do it, you'll fail. So be prepared for it. They want to know that you look good, you feel good, and know that you're doing good as a brand.
All right, so obviously I'm generalising hopelessly, but it sounds a bit like Chris and Paul set off on this path from day naught.
Yes.
Now, it also sounds, Sakina and Johnny, like there were turning points, inflection points. So let's dig into those a little bit. Sakina first.
So our business is 26 years old, and I was in another toiletry business before that. And at that point, when we started the business, the thing that was very important was animal testing, making sure you weren't animal testing, and that is what everybody was talking about. Of course, as time moves on, other things become very important, and sustainability clearly is something that is important to us all. So as a company that started out, we have products that we've been doing for many years. It's very expensive sometimes to change those things over. Everything that we do now, we do with sustainability in mind. But what I would say for older companies is, as long as you're doing bit by bit, every year, you're changing the things that you can, and you're sharing that journey with your customers, I think your customers appreciate that you can't always do everything all at once.
Okay.
And financially, that's not possible.
So let's talk about that financial point. Can we imagine your CFO glaring at you, sort of?
Oh, every day.
Yeah. Especially when you're going through some of these inflection points.
Yes.
Saying, Sakina, talk me through it.
Yes.
Make the case
Yes.
as to why, yes, I get that it's good for the world. How is this going to be good for the business? And they're in a really grumpy, skeptical mood.
Well, because we all know it's the right thing to do, and even my CFO understands that it's the right thing to do. And sometimes although as a business, in order to look after your employees, etc., you need to make money, you have to do it the right way. It's as simple as that.
Right, now, Johnny, on this inflection for you, you've said today the change in your packaging changed your business.
Yes.
I think we want to just understand even more colourfully how.
Yeah, well, I think if you look at, say, the lip care market as a whole, we were sitting there with all the major players, without naming them, and it is just a sea of plastic, and this was when the single-use plastic story came along. So, I mean, our business is 10 years old, so back then it really wasn't thought about as much. We decided to change. Actually, let me just go back a step. as a business, we would never, ever claim that we are the best. And I defy any business to say that they are the best. We always say as a business, we're always trying to do the best that we can. So always looking to make improvements. So we had those pillars at the start, which was to make people feel good, have fun, get a product that is natural, it's vegan, and get it at a price. Yeah. So that's probably where we lose out a little bit. So our margins can be a little bit tighter.
Yes.
We want to be an inclusive brand that everybody can afford. But that was a changing point because the style of box that we put our product in looked incredible. It was water-soluble ink, it was recycled card. The plastic that we do use, some people would say, is it single use? Or if you're using it for 4 to 6 weeks, well, there's another argument there. But it's PCR plastic. So everything is doing it to the best of our ability.
Got it. Right, now on this, stand by Chris and Paul. For a guest tuning in, they might say, I feel that these 4 are so far ahead on this, we need to get up to speed. So let's get quite snappy with this in terms of more of a 101. How do I go back tomorrow and start to have really practical conversations about how to take the business in the right direction in terms of sustainability? So here I'm nudging you both towards the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come in first. Sorry, Chris. But I will slightly disagree with Chris. Just listen to his talk there. Not everything does cost money. Now, some things clearly do. But I would say whatever you spend, you do end up getting back in the mid to long term. So, I mean, a great place to start, and I would say this, wouldn't I, is the BIA assessment, which is the B Corp tool, absolutely free for everyone to use. That was a starting point for us, and it just plants loads and loads of ideas of ways you can be better as a business, which will be different for the business you're in. I mean, we can look at all of the environmental stuff, the carbon, GHGs, water, biodiversity, plastic, waste, all that. What you can do in each of those areas will totally depend on what kind of business you are. But I would also include social sustainability as well, or not just environmental. So there's stuff you can do in the community, there's stuff you can do in education. Obviously, there's treating your workers exceptionally well. And of course, there's all that, environmental and socially, back into the supply chain too.
Helpful. And we can come back on that B Corp point because we noticed that you have chosen to renew in terms of that B Corp journey. Not everybody in that group has, so we'll come back to that decision. Chris, add to Paul's list here.
I think Paul's right. You don't need to. It doesn't need to cost money. There's stuff that you can do. And I think, like, if you're dealing in products, which is where we are, ask if there's a different version of the same thing, right? Does it need to be in plastic? Can it be in packaging? And if you don't ask these questions, you're not challenging yourself and your suppliers.
So on this, I suppose a question, and please stand by, guests, to ask your questions. But something that has been on our minds is, to what extent does the customer care that the product is greener, more sustainable? To what extent are they willing to pay a little bit more for it? Obviously, they might feel warmly towards it, but when it all boils down to it, let's get some pithy thoughts, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we often think about because we sell in retail environments where it's an impulse purchase. And I do wonder if the customer is even thinking about it because it's tough out there. So people are always thinking about price at the moment. My conversations with buyers aren't necessarily about my packaging. It's about the price and the margin that they're making. I think it's a fundamental decision that the business has to make. So I know we talked about this pivoting point with the cardboard, but from the start, we were natural and vegan. We always wanted to do good. And that's one of the points that I think Paul raised there is about, making sure that team and workforce feel great. I mean, we're in the Sunday Times, great places to work, something that we feel very proud of. And even that is just as important, not just about the environment, it's about the team.
And on that, let's get everyone's thoughts on the extent to which the customer cares, and or if that's evolving and changing at all. Sakina?
Well, I think I'm talking about our customers that are retailers and then our customers that are at the end consumer. We have some retailers where money that they spend is more important to them than the sustainability aspect. And we have other customers where sustainability is very important. And then consumers, I think if you ask consumers, in the main, almost everybody would say, yes, it's important. But in the gift industry, there's been a lot of market research on this. And a lot of consumers will say it's important until you tell them the difference in price about certain things. And of course, the people that can afford that are going to always choose the sustainable product. People that can't, they don't have a choice but to not afford that. So you're always trying to get it right. And as you know, as the owner of the company, I have to make that decision to try and do the best that I can.
Got it.
I'm going to be a little bit controversial. So I find the gifting side of the business probably one of the most difficult for us because we're challenged to make gifting larger and larger so it looks more impactful on the shelf and at the right price point, when really I feel like we should be making it smaller, less cardboard, less plastic, less product. But at the end of the day, the consumer is walking in, they want to buy something for 15 and 20 pounds. It needs to look like this.
Yeah, to draw the eye.
I mean, think how many Christmas presents we're given and it comes like this, and on the inside it shrinks to this. But it's something that we all go for.
Right, well, let's hold these thoughts. Let's get some more questions from our audience here. I'm looking around the space here. I've got a few coming online. Let's go back to this second to back row. Feel free to say who you are.
Hello, I'm Holly from Hubble. We're a creative branding and design agency. So we are predominantly a service-based business. Now, obviously, we do work with product-based businesses, and we can, sustainability is very important to us and to those that align with us and our clients. So we can try and move them away from plastics. However, obviously, as a service-based business, I'm wondering if you have any tips for us when it comes to things like servers. You know, we use a huge amount of electricity around the world at the moment, just purely to do our websites, our apps, and things like that. So what tips do you have for service-based?
Tips for service-based businesses. Thank you, Holly from Hubble. Anyone want to shoot for that?
Yeah, I can probably jump in there. I don't think carbon balancing is the right answer, is what I would say. I think that's if you are using data centers, and we use software as a service as well. So we try to use people that have got good energy efficiency. Are they using solar panels? So it's like I said, it's on you to then challenge your suppliers and try to choose the best suppliers that are doing things in the ethical way. So even as a service company, you will be using a lot of computing power, but try to use ones that have got good backup systems.
Thank you. Paul, conscious that you might want to come in on that if you caught the question. Advice for service-based businesses, 80% of the economy, of course.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're a bit more limited in terms of what you can do, but you've got all your own office environments. There's potentially the opportunity to do something with biodiversity if you've got any land around the business or a roof garden. Our wholesale business is largely service-based because we outsource our logistics, but we have an area of flat roof and we've turned that into a garden last year. Beehives on the roof is another one. But yes, I mean, you are a bit more limited in terms of the impact you can do on the environmental side, but clearly on the social side, you can do just as much as any other business.
Yeah, and then your points earlier on community, engaging with education, very, very well noted. Let's have some more questions. I want to share them, particularly if you haven't asked a question yet at Elite Business Live. But yes, maybe just in this front row here. Welcome.
Hi guys, and my question is what is the research behind being green and then not being green? So is it more expensive to provide products that are classed as being green than products that aren't? And the reason I ask this is because if you go to a supermarket, so as a customer, you go to a supermarket today, if you want to eat healthily, your shopping costs you more than it does if you just wanted to eat beige food. So this is my sort of theory behind products. Is this the same thing? And is that why, like, I have the Dr. PAWPAW lip balm, and I've used it for a long time. Someone recommended it to me.
Thank you.
And I've also just had a look on Amazon at the Panda loo roll to see what it is like per sheet compared to things like Andrex.
Right.
So
our guest here, forgive me, because we want to get more questions in. There's a theory here, if we haven't caught it online, that there could be a green premium. Let's either back that up or shoot it down, Johnny.
No, I mean, I think you might have mentioned it before someone did, just asking the right questions of your manufacturer or your developer of the product. You can get great products at a great price. And then when you start to scale, as we have, the cost comes down and down and down. So I actually think you can do it. And I actually think you can eat healthy from a supermarket as well. I think the challenge is sometimes we're so time poor, we end up buying these quick meals, which are what let us down. But no, I think you can do it and you can make money.
And but briefly, Paul, and then anybody else on this, and then we'll take another question from the room.
Yes, there is some great data now. I mean, I'm going to use B Corps again. There's data of B Corps versus data from the BEIS government department, which I shared this morning on a slide. So B Corps are growing at 5 times the average business in the UK. They take a lot more R&D money. They have less churn in the business, and there's all sorts of metrics now that are showing that even if it does cost a bit more money, you'll grow faster, you'll make more profit. So there is hard data to prove that.
Right. Can I just jump in there very, very quickly? So in a real practical story here, in 2019 we were doing about £100,000 a month, and 50% of it was in our toilet roll, which was wrapped in plastic. And we decided to turn it into paper. And it was going to cost us an extra 50p per pack. And we did it because it was the right thing to do. If we had a CFO, he probably would have had kittens. But we did it anyway. So we basically stopped half of our biggest selling line and introduced a line that nobody had ever seen before. And we had no idea. Within 3 months, we doubled our turnover.
Oh, wow.
Right, cool. So there you go. There's a real hard example
now let's
about doing the right thing.
Thank you, Chris. Any other questions within the room? Raise your hand. Yes, there's 2 there. Why don't we take both of those, if that's all right? And then we've got a...
Hi, Marcus Matthews. I want to just lean on to the lady's question before. I think, how do companies like you break through the virtue signalling? Because there's so many big companies out there that are talking about sustainability, they're talking about this stuff, but actually it isn't part of their ethos, it's not part of their mission, and it's getting companies like yours to the forefront, and government need to support that, but that's not happening. So
we'll get a thought on that. If you wouldn't mind passing the mic behind you, just capture this last question, then you can pick either that you like.
Yes, is there any sort of joint effort to analyze the potential impact of, because a lot of the packaging is turning from plastic to paper, and now we're using more recyclable paper, which is great, but that means that we will use more intensively our natural resources, forests, etc. And you spoke about nearshoring, which is a great idea. But from conversations with biologists, I remember saying that sometimes when we plant plants that are not indigenous to the region without wanting it, we attract other problems because there are pests.
So unexpected byproducts. Thank you. So either of those, but it really is going to be a 30-second answer each. Johnny.
I can take the first question. I think what to do is to look at the companies and what they produce, because what you're looking at is a lot of conglomerates that have brands that are saying things like, we're great for the environment, we've got no plastic, we're all cardboard, but then their other product range is completely plastic, doing really bad things to the environment. And I think we know some of these conglomerates. So that's what I would call pure greenwashing. So I'd take that, Be careful.
I would just like to say there are certain things like ingredients like palm oil, for example. Yes. We're a manufacturer of soap, and there's huge controversy over something like palm oil, which I think there should be, because it's really ruining a lot of the environment and destroying natural habitats. Yep. We do use palm oil, but we use palm oil that's only from Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, that is RSPO segregated. Yes. We know exactly where it comes from. So that is educating the public on why, although palm oil itself is not very good for the environment.
There's nuance there.
There are nuances,
thank
and you
you.
have to make sure you educate.
Thank you. So that is the Somerset Toiletry Company there. Very briefly, Chris, and then a final thought, Paul, and then really we will be out of time.
Yeah, so eucalyptus trees in Portugal is a great example about we can just plant loads of trees. They poison the soil, actually. They've had wildfires because of it. So, you know, just because you think you can plant a crop doesn't necessarily mean if it's not thought through well, then you can actually cause more damage than what you think you're benefiting.
Yes, yeah, mentally unwell, I think they call that, yeah. Thank you very much, Chris. And on that, though, no such concern when you talk about nearshoring with the bamboo?
No, I mean, it's a grass plant, so, and it's not, it doesn't bring invasive species to it. It's a super plant, so we've actually got it lots of places around Europe already.
Fantastic. I almost want to grill you all again, maybe Hannah can pick up on this, on how you have managed, all of you, to triumph against billion-dollar competitors in many cases. So we want to get more of that entrepreneurial edge as well. Paul, a final thought from you.
Yeah, just to take the greenwashing point, this was part of the furore last week on LinkedIn, which I got involved with. Yes, there are B Corps that are greenwashing, but they're all better than they were 5 years ago. They're better than they were last year. They might not be doing everything they say, but they're doing more than they were. So it's not ideal, but things have moved forward. So that's a result as far as I'm concerned.
Well, if we do one thing today, other than put into action some of these insights, let us please share far and wide the good work of Cotswold Fair, and of course Flourish as well, of Dr. PAWPAW, of the Somerset Toiletry Company, and of course of Cheeky Panda. Thank you to you all individually very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And we're very lucky, actually, because thanks to all four guests, we get to hear more from Johnny Paterson about his global journey as we start to think about taking our products and services all over the world a bit later on. Listening to that green conversation is Hannah Previtt. Hannah, what was your takeaway from that?
Well, I really enjoyed it as it got a bit spicy towards the end, didn't it? Talking about greenwashing. And Paul just referred to the furore on social media last week about B Corp. And I must say, our readers at the Times and Sunday Times are really sceptical of the B Corp stuff. So everything that came out in the last couple of weeks, really kind of added fuel to that fire. So I'm looking forward to picking up on that point, as well as several others with our panellists just in a couple of seconds' time.
Very much so. So, Hannah, over to you. Very much looking forward to that. Thank you very much indeed. Over to you, Hannah.
Thank you, Ollie. So, Johnny, I think you're up first, if you'd like to come and join me here, because I know you're doing a bit of a triple act, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
So, thank you.
I was nearly doing a 4.
Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
We like to get our money's worth out of our speakers here at Elite Business Live. So why don't we pick up on the greenwashing point straight off the bat, and all of the social media furore last week and the week before. I covered a story about a company that was B Corp registered and it's decided not to renew its certification.
It's quite interesting for us because we're going through the
So I was going to ask, are you a B Corp?
So we've been working on it around for 18 months now, and we hoped it was going to be a much quicker process. But I think once you get a business to a size, many businesses do this when they're at 1 and 2 million revenue. We've decided to do this at 12 plus million revenue, so it's not an easy thing to do. But the one thing I would say, and I think that's one thing we didn't really get to pick up on today, the amount of good things it makes you do with your business. It makes you look at your business and all the different operational needs. I mean, we talked about it just then. It is about team, so it makes you improve what you're doing with your team, education, but it's looking at all your manufacturing processes, your product, your supply chain. And so I think there's some real positives there.
And so I'm sure you were doing lots of those things already. Were there some areas where you weren't so great that you've had to really brush up on?
Yeah, I think obviously we use a lot of contract manufacturers, so we don't produce the goods ourselves. Contract manufacturing, just in case anybody doesn't know, means that we're outsourcing our purchases. So, you know, they're supplying lots of different brands and we have quite high demands. And so we've had to go and see them and tell them the things that we need in terms of like the packaging, what we need as a business. So yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge.
And you mentioned there about your employees, employee education. You also mentioned when you were on the panel, Sunday Times, great places to work. Number one, Sunday Times, very important.
It's very good.
And of course, you guys are featured in the column I look after in the Sunday Times as well.
My wife, yes.
I did interview your wife.
She made it.
Yeah, exactly. And
I didn't get included.
I've not seen her since.
No,
so
well, right now she's in India she's on a tuk-tuk ride across India raising money for an amazing charity.
Yes.
So I'm here doing my thing. But yeah, it's incredible.
So back to the employees.
Yeah, back to the point, sorry.
No. And it's incredible what they're doing. And everybody should check it out on social media. And I'm going to write about it next week. So I know
you
some
are?
of the founders
Good, yes.
So we will pick up on that. But yes, Sunday Times, great places to work. You know, why did you go for that? Why does it matter? What are some of the great things? Why is it such a good place to work? Should I come and work there rather than the Sunday Times?
Come.
Yeah.
So first of all, and one thing that really excites us, we didn't put ourselves forward. The team do it. And then a questionnaire goes around to the entire team and they have to answer openly and honestly. So that's quite exciting. You might say, well, of course they've got to do that, but we didn't even know that they were doing it. So to get that recognition was incredible. But I will tell you the things that we do in our office space to try and make sure that people are happy. So education for all, and I sound like a government minister there. We do make sure that everybody has some sort of education, whether it's internal, external, every single year. We have summer and winter events where we have motivational speakers, people to come and excite them and, let them know why they're at work. We have regular engagements with them about their salaries, what they're doing in the workspace. We have monthly massages, private healthcare. It's, work shouldn't be work. It should feel like you're coming home and you want to enjoy every day. I always say, if you live Saturday to Sunday, then you're really wasting your life.
Yeah.
Every day should feel like a great day.
Absolutely. Well, great note to end on. Johnny, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your next spin
I'm looking forward to
on the stage. Thank you. Sakina, please come and join me. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Loving this bright colour.
Thank you so very much.
So what I would love to do is, because I hadn't heard of the business before, so more for me, but why don't we tell our listeners, our viewers, people tuning in at home, a bit more about the company. So how you got started, what was the problem you were trying to solve?
So you may not have heard of the business because actually none of our brand names are under, that is the name of the company. We actually started off by manufacturing private label for large retailers around the world, a lot in the United States.
So that's kind of white labelling of products.
Yes,
yeah.
Correct. And then after the crash, so many crashes over the years.
Which one?
Of 2008.
Yes.
We decided we needed to spread our eggs, and we started doing our own products. But we have different brands that we sell around the world and in Britain. And so we have a really fabulous design department. So we really focus on making beautiful products, and each one of them has their own characteristics. And then part of what I do is make sure that the ingredients are all lovely within those products. So yeah, we sell to 55 countries. We are across Britain. And we have different brands that are in different types of stores: independents, department stores, pharmacies, garden centres.
So where might our viewers have come across your products but not realised it?
So I would say almost any garden centre you walk into, you will see our products. As I say, we're in many high streets. But also we'll be Oliver Bonus, for example. We make their toiletries for them. And then some of the larger retail groups in the United States, we make toiletries for them. But they're all under different brand names. So in Britain, our own products with Naturally European, AAA, and a variety of other brand names.
And so you mentioned there about the sourcing and the ingredients and how that's kind of an area of passion for you. So where are your ingredients sourced from in the context of the kind of green conversation we were having just now?
Yes, so for example, in our hand creams, we use a lot of richet, which is an incredible natural ingredient for ensuring that you have moisture in your skin, but it also protects your skin from when you're constantly washing your hands. Great product for gardeners, for nurses, for doctors. That comes from South Africa, and so you're always going to the source of where you get the natural ingredients from. I mentioned earlier about palm oil. I think that's a really important point I'd like to make, if you don't mind.
Please do.
There's huge controversy about palm oil, and I agree with that there should be, because palm oil is ruining a lot of natural environment, and it is taking animals that really need that space and moving them, and they're really being pushed and shoved into smaller and smaller areas. But what I would say is that actually, if you do it right, and I mentioned that we get our palm from Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, where there are no animals that are going to be harmed by that, where the farmers actually are part of a cooperative, and you see how their lives are changed from that money coming in, where we know exactly where the palm comes from. So there are always nuances with these things. The thing about if you use coconut or olive instead is that actually palm per hectare produces 7 to 20 times more on a hectare of land than any other, whether it's soy or whether it's coconut or olive. So you always have to go back and look at exactly why you are choosing to use things and try and make the decision based on the right reasons, not always on the controversy around it, and then educate your consumer about why you do that.
So that's why that provenance piece is so important.
Yes.
And so just quickly, because we've only got a few moments left, you said you're in 50 countries. What's your biggest market outside of the UK? Is it the US?
The United States, and then, funnily enough, Guatemala.
Oh, really? How interesting. So on the US, though,
Yes.
because obviously Trump
Yes.
in the White House,
Yes.
throwing back on all the CSR stuff.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Well...
Sorry, opening a can of worms just before we have to wrap up. Let's pick it up with Chris.
Yeah, I mean, you just always have to roll. I mean, if you're in business, things change constantly, and you just have to roll with the punches and do your best.
Yeah, I think that's great advice all round. Sakina, thank you so much.
Thank you
for
very
joining
much.
us.
Thank
you
you.
so much. Chris, come up. Join me here.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, we're also getting our money's worth out of you today. Keynote panel. Now you're here joining us backstage. So first question is about the hats. How many of these do you have, or do you wear the same one all the time?
We have quite a few of them. We actually give these away on the on Panda points from our website. So if you get collect points, you can either give it to charity, or you can get a discount, or you can get a hat.
Oh, my girls would love this. I'm going to have to start ordering loo roll just so I can get one of these hats. So let's talk about the B Corp stuff, because I'm kind of fascinated by it. So as I alluded to earlier, we have something happens with our readers. They get very sceptical, lots of grumpy old men.
Of course.
They read the articles. They, in fact, sometimes write at the bottom. I was reading and I was really impressed until they mentioned they're a B Corp. So there are people out there who aren't fully bought into it. So what would you say to a B Corp skeptic?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not really interested in B Corp, you're probably still driving a V8 Aston Martin, and you don't think there's anything wrong with exploiting the planet's resources. So I don't think you're ever going to convert those laggards. I think people that are progressive and think, how can we do things better? And we do understand it's a journey. I think they're the audience you speak to, and I think that you can never speak to everybody.
I mean, that's a really good response. And there has been a lot of controversy in the last few weeks, though, right? With a few B Corps saying they weren't recertifying. What would you say? Because there's some new standards coming down the line, aren't there? Do you think we should all be a bit patient and see what happens with those?
I think Paul made a good point earlier, that there's some disappointment from the B Corp community that certain companies are B Corp, and some B Corps have been caught for greenwashing as well, and that really annoys the ones that are doing it, playing fair. But are those businesses in a better place by becoming B Corp and then they be held accountable to those standards? I think so. And I mean, a lot of things that people are turning around and sort of saying, do I need this cost in my business? And maybe opting out of the B Corp saves some money. And if they haven't really seen a benefit for it, if they think, if I become a B Corp, I'm going to get sales, and then I've not got these magic sales. But that's not the reason why you should ever become a B Corp in the first place. The reason you become a B Corp is because it's got these pillars in terms of governance, control, society, and environmental. And if you work to these pillars, your business becomes a better business. And that's what you should do and why you should do it.
Oh, great spokesperson you are for the B Corp movement. So because Ollie said we should ask this question, I'm going to ask it because I respect my co-host's advice. How did you manage to triumph against, that toilet paper brand that has lots of puppies in its advert?
I mean, we're still not in the major retailers today, you know, we're now 1% of the toilet paper market in sort of retail brands in the UK. And I think this shows that, you know, that so many people have actually adopted Cheeky Panda without it being mainstream retail. I think as soon as we get there, we're going to see a much larger uptake. So, I mean, an incumbent is someone that, like, people like us come in to challenge and make them think about why is their packaging in plastic. You know, and if they turn around and suddenly make all their packaging in paper, you know, that's a great accomplishment for us. And, you know, then they let the consumer choose which is better.
And so when it comes to the retail point, you said you're not in mainstream retail yet. Is that a choice that you've made? Because to kind of make it at that scale would be really tricky to scale up that fast?
No, there's no problem with scale. I mean, during the pandemic, we supplied the supermarkets when the other brands run out. And we would have expected that would have led on to more listings. But, you know, that hasn't quite worked out that way. And, you know, these are ongoing conversations. And we hope that we give enough positive news in terms of like what we do that eventually we'll get some shelf space.
And you sell a lot via Amazon, right? So have you got any tips for people wanting to sell on Amazon?
I mean, Amazon is a very democratic marketplace to be able to get your products listed. You know, where in retail you kind of go through these buying cycles, and it might be once a year they do like range reviews. In Amazon or marketplaces, you can actually get your products listed very quickly. You'd probably want to try to get to vendor as quickly as possible because marketplaces can be very expensive in terms of warehousing, storage and fees. Whereas in vendor, you know, you've kind of got that regular cycle of volume that makes it a little bit more manageable from a financial point of view.
Some great advice there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Cheers.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. I hope that was as insightful as it was for me. For all of you watching at home,